Hey, SFNEOnline fans, this is John, your co-host here of the Growth Show here, back for a new episode of Why Are They Gone? This episode will go about the rise and fall of the once known New England park named Paragon Park, as you all requested that you want to find out why it's gone. But before we get into this, please subscribe and turn on your notifications so you know when the next Why Are They Going video comes on. Also, when our other cool content comes out and the Wednesday night Grove Show goes live. Also, go on our Facebook and like us on Facebook, because there you'll get the latest breaking news in the amusement park industry. Also, go on our Instagram for cool pictures and our TikTok for some crazy blooper videos. Now, who's ready? Who's set? Who's ready to find out why Paragon Park is gone? Picture this. It's Saturday, June 10th, 1905. The place is Nantucket Beach, Massachusetts. The smell of the salt water. The feel of the soft sea breeze coming off the water as they open the gates to Paragon Park. The park opened to rave reviews. It is said that the layout of and format of the park was modeled to those of Luna and Dreamland at Coney Island. They had a restaurant named Palm Garden Restaurant. Then they had a performance hall at the base of the hill that drew guests from all around New England and New York area. They actually took in plenty of new and big acts from the Boston area and Providence area, even more so there than even at Rocky Point Park in Rhode Island. They drew so many guests during those days. They also had wild animal shows, shooting galleries, performances at the Laughing Show, and an arcade, a man smaller buildings. The newspapers wrote about the park and was said that it was nothing like being at Paragon Park, and compared it to the famed Coney Island. The owners of the 10-acre park built by the Eastern Park Construction Company was in fact originally modeling this as an actual fair. The World's Columbian Exposition Fair of 1893. This Chicago-based event was introduced the concept of what is known today as the Midway of attractions now you see at the amusement parks and carnivals of today. Well, the park ended up having the original investors started having doubts 2 years after the park did open in 1907. 2 seasons after the park opened, this park did not raise the money that they thought they would raise, and the fanfare that the owner group thought they wanted, and they wanted to cut their ties and move on from the park. But there's one guy, his name is George Dodge. He did not give up on his vision and the concept of Paragon Park, and bought his investors portions and ran the park with his every being for plenty of years. Then, the first hard times as the sole owner, came by a fire, sadly, as the first major fire at Paragon Park struck in 1911. It leveled all the buildings from the entrance on the south area from along the Nantucket Avenue and further along that road. After the fire, a new dance hall and roller coaster was constructed in the front of the park. The roller coaster named Green Streak, that is. The coaster was built by the famed Philadelphia Toboggan Company. This would replace a coaster that was damaged. That was a figure 8 model that had been located at the rear of the complex next to the Palm Garden. The Green Streak coaster ended up meeting its own fate in 1917 when there was another fire at the park. This time the coaster and the front entrance was burned to the ground. But also in 1917 would become a huge year for Paragon Park as they constructed a new stone front entrance, a new fun house, and a new steeplechase was put in on the left side of the entrance. George wanted to make a splash and reached back out to Philadelphia Toboggan Company and planned and had them built a 98-foot giant coaster. In 1919, George decided to start stepping back from the day-to-day ops. And then the next year, in 1920, two men that he trusted the most and rented space at the park took over duties. One man named Albert Golden, and the other man named David Stone became the park's managers. The two men would face their first challenges early in their managerial positions later on that year. As both Stone and Golden began working on how they would go along with the continuation of Paragon. Stone wanted his son Joseph to join him with the park. He also had Joseph enter into negotiations with the Old Colony Railroad to buy the land that the railroad sat. They did buy the land that was just south of the original park. Not too long after they started talking negotiations. So now Paragon and Stones also own more land as well, more expansion. But in March of 1923, tragedy hit the park again as fire broke out at the paint shop at the park. The fire ripped through the park, this time causing over $500,000 in damage and destroying most of the south end of the park again. Sadly, this time, David Stone lost two of his houses in the fire, and also other workers that worked in the area of the concession stands and other businesses lost their homes as well. Sadly, years passed and the partnership ended up breaking. The two, Stone and Golden, separated the land between each other, so the Stone family took over, keeping up the park, and repainted a giant coaster in 1980. And the Great Depression hit the park hard as Stone had financial issues and other also issues getting a liquor license as well. Not too much is known after that, during the Great Depression era. But sadly, David and his son and his brother died from 1946 to 1949, and the family still kept going with the park. Then there was some good bright news that happened in 1951, as the Golden family finally stop being stubborn and stop dividing the land. And the lands would be brought back together. Again, the Stones took control of all the property, as well as the rear parking lots and warehouse, while Goldens kept the section of the former railroad that would later house the turnpike cars and the Magic Mine train. Another milestone was hit in 1963 by a very sad time at the park again, when 3 separate fires went through the park. The first fire was called the Roaring Inferno by the fire chief of Holt, Massachusetts, as the fire ripped through the Arcade Bazaar and Funland, a toy store and a group of attractions was damaged, estimating money topping at $300,000. A month later, another huge fire destroyed the roller coaster in the front entrance again, and more concessions along the front part of the park. The family had crews working around the clock to rebuild the giant so that it would open that season. Then a third fire sadly struck the park again in the fall, destroying the Chateau Ballroom at the back end of the park. The fire destroyed much of the holiday inventory of the Toyorama, that was a seasonal store in Paragon's former roller skating rink that competed against the Arcade Bazaar. The park rebuilt what was needed to be rebuilt through time, and not much happened again at the park until 1969, when the most known Stone family member passed away. That is Rose Stone. Why is she well known? Well, because she was the last living member that knew George Dodge. And then another sad moment in Paragon's history happened in 1978. This was the well-known weather event that New Englanders that are still alive today, and meteorologists that were around that time, and meteorology students or meteorology it's a meteorological weather statement problem that happened, and weather event. That is known as the blizzard of 1978. The storm that dumped 3 feet of snow from the Worcester Hills, Western Mass, Rhode Island, and Boston area made serious damage to the whole area, including Paragon's area. But the storm did not dump snow on the Paragon Park, as it put Paragon under 6 feet. That's right, 6 feet of the Atlantic Ocean waters. And the whole bay that was there. The whole peninsula became one and flooded, and left a path of serious damage. The owners of Paragon were challenged in a way they never had been before, but they would find a way to recover from the flood. They would recover items such as motors, machinery of most rides, arcade games, prize inventory, and other things needed to complete a replacement. The buildings needed to dry out, and by some miracle, Paragon did open in the season of 1978. Yay! But 1978 came also with family issues inside the Stone family. And this would go on for a few years, as Larry and Phyllis Stone decided to divorce sometime around 1982 as well. Larry and they found little common ground in their day-to-day management of the park and in their lives. And sadly, their two kids expressed an interest in carrying on the family business and keeping Paragon alive. But there was more problems building with the economy climbing out of recession, and they faced serious realities of the years of deferred maintenance on their rides and buildings. This would put a serious financial strain on them, and also with them trying to stay relevant at the time to the park goers and thrill seekers alike of the New England area, as Riverside Park, Rocky Point Park, Lake Compounds, Canby Lake Park, and other New England parks around were upping the ante at their parks and putting significant investments into their parks. This also meant that Paragon needed to put a significant investments into their parks, and this was needed to bring Paragon Park up to the new age of amusement parks, and this was the new age of the parks in early to mid 80s, and would require millions of dollars of upgrades or upgraded rides, and costs of liability insurance for thrill rides continued to climb as well. Of the cost also of the performing acts. It was said with each passing year would be the last. Well, that time came when in 1984, at the end of the season at Paragon. With the booming real estate of Massachusetts and the real estate market, the Stones finally sold all their property of the park to a developer. This developer would make way to build the plaza at Paragon. When news of this broke, people were pissed and very mad, because this was a place that brought families together. This was also another place that had traditions for families to come together at and enjoy throughout the years. Well, they ended up having an auction in 1985, and they sold off the rides as well. Some of the rides were sold off and moved to other parks. But there was a main auction that fans of the park and workers at the park could go and buy memorabilia from the park, or even a little trinket from the park. This also had brought back nostalgia memories to these fans and workers, and some of them were crying. So this answers the question why the let me restart that. This is why the once compared to Coney Island. Sadly, this is the end of the park. This is why the park is gone. This park was once compared to Coney Island, but now is gone, sadly, due to family issues and money issues. Also, the other issues that had combined with trying to stay relevant. Yes, today we wish every amusement park actually had new attractions or up the ante each park. We always talk about this park or that park trying to add a new attraction, or they should do this or they should do that. Well, this is a reason why sometimes these parks don't listen to us anymore. Park rides cost millions of dollars. Park insurance, liability insurance, and that costs are up. But this is what happened to Paragon Park. In conclusion, I will actually say this. In conclusion, I will say this because I got this from reading the history of Paragon Park. One thing to take from listening to this Why Are They Gone and watching it. This park shows to all of us that if you had a vision, do not give up on it. Be like George. He never gave up on his vision for Paragon. It was realized and lasted way beyond his years. So remember this. Your visions count. Stay true to what you believe you want to be growing up or out there today. Still, even in your 30s, 40s, 50s, do not give up on your vision because it will happen, and stay true to yourself. But I'm going to get out of here. If you like this video and you like the series, please subscribe, like the video. Also turn on your notifications for our videos that will be coming out. Also when we go live for the Grove Show. Also don't forget our Facebook page and like it so you know when the next new amusement park industry news comes out. So, until next time, y'all.